This is Bob Hale with MLB Expansion. I'm with my co-admin, Marcus Turner, and today our guest is Mr. Matt Mackowiak, who is one of the founders of Austin Baseball Commission, the effort to bring Major League Baseball to Austin, Texas. Matt, we've talked a few times over the years, and I know you've been running this campaign for the last 2 years. Just tell us how things are going.
Yeah, things are going great. We have been working on this for more than 2 years. The three of us, the three co-founders, myself, Dustin Byington, and Derek Fox. We're three 40-something entrepreneurs in Austin. We all have kind of different areas of specialty. My area of specialty is I'm the kind of the long-term Austin resident, and so I have a pretty large network in Austin. I'm pretty involved civically and politically here. Dustin is a finance guy, sort of by trade, and has done 0 to 1 twice, and has helped us put our fundraising round together and our organizational structure and all of our foundational documents together. And then Derek is a marketing expert, and so he's leading our marketing and advertising efforts in our local events. Yeah, I mean, we start with a couple kind of North Star type points. The first is Austin, as you probably know, because you've probably heard this, Austin is the largest city in the country that doesn't have a top 4 sports franchise. And so just from that basis alone, we started from a position believing Austin had a strong case to make. But we really wanted to understand what would the cost be, what is the league looking for, who else is competing, what are the elements required in a bid, what variables are there, and we've spent much of the last 2 years, particularly the first quarter of that, maybe the first 3 to 6 months, understanding those variables, and then building our advisor group and our vision and our plan, which we feel really good about. I mean, we've had people that have had chances to join Nashville and Salt Lake and Vancouver and Portland who have chosen to join our effort, believing not just that we have a really great chance, but that the seriousness of our effort is unique and special. As we're taping this is coming at an interesting time, given that we are, I don't know, 2 months or so, or maybe 6 weeks or so from All-Star Weekend from the midpoint, but the labor discussions are really kicking off with greater intensity now, with both sides now putting forward initial proposals. And so, the question of expansion is wrapped into both the labor issue, but also the national television negotiation, which will occur, I think, really in tandem with the labor discussions, given that the national TV contract expires at the end of 2028. And we really see expansion as being the missing puzzle piece that ties the two together, that helps solve problems that each of those issues has. We know the league wants to expand. There's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, just going from 30 to 32 is helpful, because you have all 8 divisions of 4. All the divisions have the same number of teams. All teams play the same number of division games. It will cut down on travel. It'll create, more rivalries. It just is really positive. I mean, all the other leagues have team numbers that are divisible by 4, and baseball wants to get there. But it's not simply that. It is they want to add 2 thriving, dynamic media markets. They want to continue to grow the game, and they want to increase the average value of teams. And nationalizing local rights is going to do that. We actually think baseball is a really good. It's kind of a stock to buy. If you look kind of under the surface a little bit, there are a lot of really encouraging signs. Game time going down, attendance up, youth attendance up. While the Dodgers have been, dominant in terms of winning World Series, you've had different teams in the playoffs. You have a lot of young stars. You have, interest internationally, certainly in Japan and in Central America, and South America. So baseball really, we feel like is about to be a rocket ship. They have to solve the labor issue and not lose any time next season. And they need to solve the local TV, national TV issue. But they have, I think, clear plans on how to do that. And if they can do that, expansion is going to happen, I think, quickly. I think in the next year, you're going to have expansion announced, with a franchise fee announced, with a process and a deadline for bids. And then you could have decisions, in the next 12 to 18 months, with teams playing as quickly as 2028, 2029, 2030 as stadiums become ready. So Austin is maybe not as well known as of a bidding market as some cities that have started ahead of us, like Nashville and Salt Lake City and Portland. But we really feel very good about our competitive position as it relates to expansion.
Well, Marcus and I have been following things very closely, of course. And the first time I heard about Austin, I thought, Austin. And then it's growing on me, because you figure that the commissioner wants a team in the East and a team in the West. And Austin is Central Time Zone, right? So
yeah, I mean, Austin can actually be both. It probably is a better fit for the NL. But if you got to a place where the top two, markets that they wanted to approve for expansion were a Central team and a West team, you could put Austin in the East. You could also move a team from the West to the East and add two teams to the West. Austin's the only market likely to bid that really can be in the American League or the National League. Everything else is really either East Coast or West Coast. So we do have some positional flexibility, which I think is another advantage.
Well, you're a Texas guy. You're a local guy, and the state of Texas, I just looked up, is the fastest growing by raw volume. 391,000 increase in population year over year, and that's 200,000 more than the second place state, which happens to be Florida. Who's moving to Texas? Where are they coming from?
Yeah, good question. And I look at, it's not just Texas's growth. Our bid is as much Austin as it is a regional bid. We're really positioning this as an Austin San Antonio regional team. We strongly believe the team needs to be in the Austin area. If you put a stadium halfway in between Austin and San Antonio, what you do is you make it inconvenient for people in both cities. We want to make it as convenient as possible for the million people that live in the city of Austin and the 2.5 million that live in the metro area, while also positioning the stadium in such a way that people who live in San Antonio on the north side or in between, might come up on a weeknight if it's a big game or it works for them, particularly in the summer, and certainly can come up for a weekend and see a 2 or 3 game weekend series with some convenience. Houston, it depends where you're talking, but the Astros Stadium is 3 hours from downtown Austin. The Ranger Stadium is 3:15 or 3:30 from Austin. Just functionally, Austin residents are not going to Houston or Dallas for a one night for a game. They may go up here and there for weekend series here and there, but it is a burden to go from one to the other. We don't believe it'll be that level of burden for people from San Antonio. Now, in terms of the growth, look, Austin is booming, San Antonio is booming, that region's booming. If you think about it, Texas as a triangle, right? Austin, San Antonio, that point in the triangle in 10 years is going to be as large as Dallas-Fort Worth, to give you a sense of the growth of that point of the triangle. And so, we actually think that the owners and the league are going to see the growth trajectory of Austin, and they're going to embrace that as well. It's not just about what size is your media market today or how many people live in your city today. It's about, are you going to have a team that can compete financially and competitively a decade from now? They want to see average, right?
I was looking at some demographic projections, and it looks like 2.5 million is what I'm reading about now as far as the population of Austin, but projected to go up to 4 million by the year 2040, which is...
I mean, we're the 11th largest city in the country right now, or maybe 12th. It kind of goes back and forth with, I think it might be Jacksonville, if I remember correctly. But yes, it's the growth trajectory that Austin's on and that the region's on that I think is also a really compelling argument that we have. And so, one of the things we've looked at really closely, from a real estate perspective, we've looked at Atlanta and the Battery. From a organizational and franchise perspective, we've really looked at the Spurs. We think the Spurs are the gold standard, not just in the NBA, but perhaps in all 4 sports in so many ways. They operate with integrity. They have stable ownership. They have immense, almost immeasurable community support. They're very active philanthropically. And so we want to do for Austin, with this baseball franchise, what the Spurs have done for San Antonio. And they're now engaging in a process, and I think are pretty far down the road, in building a downtown stadium that will revitalize downtown San Antonio. We're not going to have a downtown stadium. We don't have a large enough plot of land that can work. We will likely be in and around the airport which is what you might describe as the southeastern quadrant of Austin. Immense growth down there. Tesla's down there. SpaceX is down there. So it gives you access to both I-35, which is, the probably the busiest north-south, highway in the United States that goes from Minneapolis to Mexico. But it also gives you access to 130, which is a kind of a super highway with an 85-mile-an-hour speed limit that goes from San Antonio to just north of Austin in Georgetown. So you have two north-south roads that can get you from point A to point B. And then if you add a mass transit component to that, which we're really trying to identify and utilize and secure a site that either has mass transit already or will have it in the next decade, we want to create, a really solid plan for our stadium site and the surrounding real estate that can move people in and out, where the stadium and the surrounding real estate can succeed, not just 81 days a year when you have a home game, but 365 days a year because you have compelling real estate vision.
Good. Wanted to ask you about a major leagues team that's in Austin, the Austin FC, Major League Soccer.
Yep.
I looked at the capacity of the arena, which was 20,738, and then I looked at the average attendance, which is 20,738. The average attendance is a sellout.
Yeah, and my wife Amy and I are in the Lexus Club. We've been three or I forget if it's in the third or fourth season, whatever it is. We've been season ticket holders from the beginning. Austin as a market was absolutely, thirsty for a professional sports entertainment option. We all have the University of Texas here. I'm extremely involved with UT. I'm a graduate of UT. So is my wife. We go to every football game. I'll probably go to 12 football games this year. But Austin, in a way, is bigger. It is bigger now than it's ever been, and it's actually bigger. It used to be a college town. It happened to also be a state capital. It's now a global city with global events, with global institutions, with 58 billionaires now living here, with significant corporate headquarters here and more coming. So Austin FC, we actually think proves that Austin can succeed as a pro sports market. You do have immense support for it. And to be honest with you, the team has really only been competitive one of those 4 years. There was 1 year where we made it to the Western Conference Final and lost. The other 3 years, we've either not made the playoffs or won't make I don't think we're going to make the playoffs this year. We just fired our coach. And so my point is the community is willing to support it, at least in these early years, even when we haven't had a really competitive team. That stadium is up north. It's in a massive second downtown type of real estate development for Austin called the Domain. It's adjacent to it. They do have a light rail capability that's there that does move some people. They only have 1,000 parking spots for a stadium that holds 20,000 people. So logistically, it can be challenging. We are not looking north. We are looking south. We will be southeast of Austin, as I said, in and around the airport, in a site that is, 150 to 300 acres that we think will function as a third downtown for Austin, and that will shrink that distance functionally between Austin and San Antonio.
Okay, and if you were to get in your car in San Antonio and head to Austin, how long is it going to take you to get to the new Austin ballpark?
Yeah, so good question. And I'm quite familiar with San Antonio. I've been involved in mayor's races down there and in corporate work and have, good network down there. Most people, I don't want to say most, a large percentage of the population of Austin live on the north side, of San Antonio, live on the north side. And so the difference between north side of San Antonio and downtown is considerable. With no traffic, it's 20 minutes, and traffic, it might be 35 or 40 minutes. So if you're talking about, probably the higher net worth, higher median income people that live in San Antonio that'll be traveling north up 130 or up 35 to get to that southeastern Austin stadium in no traffic, it could be 45 minutes to an hour. In traffic, it could be an hour 15 to an hour 30. And of course, we're hoping, and we're not the only ones working on this. I know the county judge, the county executive in Travis County, where Austin is working regionally on a light rail solution, the commuter rail solution from Austin to San Antonio, which, I think they're working on. So we'd love to have a solution that could bring people on rail from San Antonio to Austin quickly and efficiently. And so, those are things that we're working on. But we do, we're going to have, I think, people from San Antonio in our investor group. We may have some very established brands from San Antonio that'll be, either corporate sponsors at a high level or maybe involved in ownership as well. We really do want to make, San Antonio a part of this bid. San Antonio has made Austin a part of their team. They play, I think it's 2 games a year now in Austin. They have an office in Austin with, I forget, 15 or so employees. They have corporate sponsors in Austin. In fact, for some of their season ticket holders and corporate sponsors, they take a helicopter and fly it from us into San Antonio for games and back. You can probably do that in the NBA. I don't know if you can do it for baseball in the same way, but maybe we can. We can maybe look at that. But yeah, we do want to shrink those markets functionally, and I know that will be something that will, I think, strengthen our bid relative to others.
Well, I pulled up a map of the metro area of San Antonio and the metro area of Austin, and I didn't know how close they'd be together. They touch.
Sure.
They're literally adjacent.
Yeah, and you actually have very significant population growth in between those areas. I mean, you have in San Marcos and New Braunfels, these are very fast-growing areas. They're more affordable than Austin and San Antonio are. Their schools are generally better. You can have more sort of a country lifestyle, perhaps, in some of those areas. San Marcos is where Texas State University is, which, might have been a sleepy teachers college 80 years ago when LBJ went there. It is now a 35 or 40,000 person campus that continues to grow, that was slated to host a presidential debate 2 years ago until the debates got canceled. So it's not just, people from San Antonio drive up. We're going to have people in between that are going to be coming up when it's only a 30 or 45-minute drive. Those people drive up to Austin to fly in and out of the Austin airport. We think they'll be willing to come up for baseball too.
Okay. Well, I'll ask Marcus. Marcus, did you have any questions for Matt?
Well, Matt, first off, I've been somewhat impressed with Austin and your group. One thing that I do have a question with is possible naming of the team. Right now, of course, Austin Baseball Commission, are you guys considering throwing it to your local population to possibly name the team and come up with a team name? Would the name possibly deal with Austin? Because we know Austin is kind of known for its music scene and its technology and those kind of things in a national form. And
yep.
I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way, and my city is very similar to yours. We had technology, we had a big college campus, we don't have many pro sports. So I look at Austin, and I always have looked at Austin as in a very favorable light. And when I did my 60-day cities, I called you guys one of the sleeper cities, because I felt like y'all don't get the run or the national recognition that maybe you deserve. And that's all I got.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I agree, Raleigh and Raleigh-Durham and Austin do have a lot of similarities. Research institutions, like you said, tech, and state capitals and all of that. So yeah, we don't have a name or a mascot set. You predicted correctly that we do want to involve the population in that, and we intend to do that both in terms of the logo and in terms of the mascot name. We do have one mascot name that's very unique to Austin. It is unfortunately used by a minor league team currently, so we are not going to be able to use it, at least in that form, unless we purchase it. So that is something we will explore down the road. But we want the name to match the community. And for it to be something that gives people pride and excitement, and in some way speaks to what baseball is, So, but we don't believe that the three of us have a monopoly on clever mascot names. In fact, we will do probably far better by involving our baseball fans here in our community. On the Austin Baseball Commission, the entity that will produce our bid, we actually did a logo contest. And had people vote. We actually created them ourselves, but we had people vote, and the logo we have now was the most popular of the four that we created.
All right, I remember you floated that out there, the 4 different logos, and people were voting on it. But which one won? I know which one I voted for. I'll have to look.
So it's a little hard to describe verbally. But our logo, number one, we really like the idea of keeping the color scheme pretty similar to the Austin FC team, which is green and black, verde and black. And so I think most, if not all, of our logos that we created had those. But if you go to atxmlb.com, our website, I believe the new logo is up there. It certainly is evolved in our socials, and people can see it.
Now you're selling merchandise, we saw.
We do have merchandise on there. We're going to probably relaunch that, more actively soon. And we had a, pretty decent response when that started. We were kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in doing some of that kind of stuff. What we've spent the last year doing is two things that we think are really critical. Number one is building out our advisor group. The league isn't just choosing a market. They're giving a franchise to an operating group that has to operate the team and the 3 minor league teams, from day one. And so we brought in both national experts and local experts. So whether it's in real estate or baseball or finance or, you name it, our advisor group, we truly believe, and others have agreed, is the strongest of any of the other cities. We have a former deputy commissioner of the league, Bob Dupay, who's chairing our effort. He was at Sport to Baseball for 30 years, including the last 9 serving as president and chief operating officer. We have the lead real estate consultant for the Austin FC effort locally here is leading our real estate effort. We have a person that's done 100 sports stadium deals in his career, who will be announcing soon, who's joining us in a leadership capacity. We have the former head of the minor league baseball union helping us, who'll be helping us. Our CFO, our fractional CFO, is the CFO for the boring company, the tunnel company that Elon has. And I could kind of go on and on. So we've built out the advisor group. We're continuing to build that out, and we're extremely excited about the strategic expertise that these individuals bring to bear. But the second thing that we've done is we're now in a capital round. We are raising money. We have created a $13 million budget to produce our bid and to engage that advisor group and get their work. And that would give us 3 years of runway. And we can speed that up or slow that down depending on the timeline that baseball sets out. There's a chance, the most rosy scenario would be some type of agreement, maybe by All-Star weekend in July. I don't think most people expect that. A labor agreement might be more likely somewhere between December and March, which still preserves the full season next year. We can speed up or slow down based on whenever that agreement comes. But we're raising towards that $13 million round. We have about $2 million raised in 45 or 60 days. And we're working to close out the next, 6, 8, maybe 12 weeks. And then from there, we will we'll go try to put the money together in the investor group, the LP group, to be able to handle the franchise fee and the financing for the stadium and the surrounding real estate vision for the site, for the preferred site.
Well, when the owners look at the candidate cities, they're going to learn a lot, and they're smart guys do the smart thing. I've been involved with a major league team, and I worked for an owner, and I remember when he got a vote for the Rockies and the Marlins, and then he tried to befriend the Rockies leadership because he had a new ally. I remember giving the guy who the team that bought the Rockies a tour of Oriole Park at Camden Yards back in 1992, and they haven't played a game yet. But yeah, they ended up starting at Coors Field the next year and broke attendance records. I'm sorry, at Mile High Stadium and broke attendance records. They didn't get to Coors till 95. But in the National Football League 30 years ago, Marcus and I talk about this a lot. There were 5 finalists for NFL expansion teams. And within like 3 years, all 5 of those cities got NFL teams because, it was Carolina and Jacksonville got the expansion teams, and the runners up, St. Louis, Baltimore, and Tennessee, got relocation teams. So there might be some owner out there in baseball that might say, hey, Austin looks pretty good. You might get an extra shot at MLB expansion.
Yep. We're not focused on relocation, but we do believe there are 5 or 6 teams that could relocate in the next decade for one reason or another. And look, the primary reason you relocate is stadium related. There was a chance I think Tampa might have relocated had they not gotten a stadium deal. They now have a new ownership group that it seems to be moving towards a new stadium, which obviously they need. And baseball wants to keep that team in Tampa. We kind of see relocation as a parallel path. The problem with relocation is you're inheriting a team that probably has challenges. And you also probably are doing it in a way that's sort of secretive. The negotiations are very secret because, the owner there, he knows that he or she knows it's going to be extremely unpopular locally. And so you don't want it to leak out until it's a done deal. So, we do think relocation, as I said, I think, can happen in the next 10 years. I'm not going to mention teams, but I think people can probably figure out a few of those markets. We really think we're a very strong candidate for expansion, and that is our preference by far. it's a price that's certain. It's a timeline that's certain. You can start the franchise entirely by yourself. It's a kind of the difference between adopting, a 10-year or 12-year-old child versus, giving birth to a child yourself and holding it in your hands in the hospital. So we're real focused on that. But if we finish third of all the markets that bid, you're right. I think we will be well positioned for relocation when and if that can occur.
Anything else, Marcus, that you can think of to ask Matt?
Well, man, one thing that I did want to ask was, you said San Antonio, of course, you're trying to develop a tie-in with them for sure. How big do you see yourself? And of course, you're a UT graduate, so with Austin being the Longhorns' home, are you going to try to market to, say, the college and the university as well with your efforts?
Yeah, we have some very specific ideas related to UT. First of all, we don't think these things really compete that much. The college baseball and pro baseball schedules overlap by about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. We have the second winningest college baseball program in history. They've been to Omaha more than anyone else. And they're hosting a regional that starts tomorrow, and are the number 6 national seed this year. We have 5 or 6 actual ideas to make UT a full partner, and we're exploring that, carefully and thoughtfully. As I said, I don't think that they compete. And look, when Austin was smaller, when UT was a more dominant player in Austin, there might have been a time where they could have really prevented Austin from getting a pro sports team. I actually think it'll be very, very, very complimentary. First of all, having big league players and college players in the same town, perhaps working out together, certainly interacting to some extent, will be good for college recruiting and instruction and training and all of those things. We actually think if you have a Major League Baseball team here, you could actually make the argument that Austin will become the number 1 baseball city in America. We have the largest RBI organization in a non-Major League Baseball market in the country, RBI Austin. We've been working with them very closely. So we have, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 100 former, retired and current big league players that live here. From Jake Arrieta to Mark Teixeira to Kevin Millar, to Jeff Kent, the list goes on and on and on. So again, we think Austin is already a great baseball city. And we think the thing that's missing is Major League Baseball. And so, we're going to work through, seeing if there's a way to partner with UT, and address any concerns that they may have. And that's something we're working on the rest of this year. We're excited about the pathway forward for that. And we're excited about the potential of becoming partners.
Well, I just wanted to follow up with one more question, if I could.
Sure.
When we talk about Austin in the group, I get pushback saying, well, Texas already has 2 Major League Baseball teams, the Rangers and the Astros. And should the expansion teams go to a state that doesn't have a team, what is your response to that?
Yeah, and as I said earlier, Houston, Dallas are 3 hours each from Austin. California has 44 million people. They have 4 pro baseball teams. We have 33 million people in Texas, and this will be our 3rd. So that ratio is the same. The question is not what state are you in. The question is how strong is your market? How solid is your investor group? What is your stadium plan? What is your surrounding real estate plan? How much local support do you have for the team? And how much corporate support do you have for suites and premium and naming rights? And we think as you look across those different criteria, Austin is going to be number 1 or number 2 in all of them. We have either the highest or second highest median net income. We are going to have, I think, the strongest corporate support. While I think Charlotte may have, as one example, more corporate headquarters than we do, these other cities, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Salt Lake, they're all going to be dividing their corporate support between other major league teams and baseball. We're not going to be doing that here. The entire corporate base can be directed to baseball almost exclusively. They will still support UT. Some of them will still support Austin FC, but we don't have an NBA, NFL, or NHL team, and we're unlikely to have one anytime soon. NBA, I think, would be maybe never, or certainly not for the next 30 to 50 years as the Spurs are building a new arena. Football would be a huge battle with the Cowboys, Texans, and UT football. And there just isn't a history of hockey in Austin. Doesn't mean it can't succeed here. And from time to time, people mention Austin. Houston is a much better expansion market than Austin is for NHL. And I think Houston will be one of the next NHL markets with Atlanta and maybe a couple others. So, fundamentally, I don't believe the league is going to look at what state the teams are in. They're going to look at those other criteria. They want to know how strong is the market. Can you succeed? Do you have a real plan, a real group to succeed? And we believe we're going to check those boxes and really show strength. And that's what we've been working on for 2 years, and that we're going to continue working on.
Well, very well said. And we really appreciate your time, Matt. And we'd like to continue conversations in the future, if you don't mind. So
That'd be great.
that's it.
atxmlb.com is the website.
And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. And this is Bob Hale and Marcus Turner with MLB Expansion. Thank you.
Thanks.